Today I wanted to walk you guys through my actual everyday makeup look. Now, I don't do my makeup every day, but I've been trying to get more into that habit, and when I do my makeup for every day, this is the look that I'm doing. Now, this is not a 5-minute quick everyday makeup look. Like, I would still call this kind of a very soft full face of makeup, you know? Because when I do get to do my makeup in the morning, I like to wake up early. I like schedule out this time. I get my coffee, I put on a YouTube video, and I do this makeup look. Like, that is one of my favorite parts of the day. So I wanted to show you exactly how I get that look, and I do kind of walk you through every single step. So it's kind of a longer video, but if you want to maybe get ready with me and just do our makeup together, go ahead and keep on watching. I have to remind myself that I'm trying to do my actual everyday routine, because whenever I film a video, like if it's for YouTube, I'm like, oh, I want to be like extra creative today or kind of do something different. But I'm like, no, I'm trying to do my actual everyday makeup. So here we go. So the first step I always do is take some kind of lip balm. I'm using the Summer Fridays one. I know this lip balm is so popular, but I think it's worth it. This is my only tube of it. I'm really trying to get through this one before I buy another one, because of course I want to try like another color. Yeah, so all the product is right there, but I just like to hydrate my lips while I do my makeup, so then when I do my lipstick as my last step, my lips are all hydrated. And then I always do my brows first, so I use these 3 brow products. I use the NYX Brow Glue, the NYX Brow Pen, and then just a thin pencil. I'm using the Anastasia Brow Wiz. Here are what my brows look like. I naturally do have pretty full brows, and I do have some old microblading in there as well, so I do have a lot to work with. I'll start with the NYX Brow Glue. I like to get a lot of product on the brush, and I just kind of wiggle that through my entire eyebrow to get my eyebrows all nice and coated here. And then I will start to brush them up. Then I like to take a spoolie. This is a slanted one by ColourPop, and I'm really going to press down and brush my brows upwards to get that laminated and lifted look. But I promise you, they will not look this crazy the entire time. They do calm down as I like finish the rest of my makeup. And then I'll even take my finger and just really press them down, because my brow hairs like to fall throughout the day, so I like to get them as high up as I can to start with. Just a little before and after for you. I know, it looks absolutely crazy. Sometimes I do go and get my brows laminated. I have a girl in Tiger that I love going to. I've gone to her for years, but it's just far from me, so I probably go like twice a year and get it done. I actually do want to go get it done soon. Now I'm going to take the NYX Brow Pen. I'm using the shade Brunette. My hand is going to block the camera, so I'm going to try to zoom out so maybe you can see a bit better. And what I like to do is I'm looking down into a mirror, and I'm going to draw in some little hair-like strokes kind of throughout the entire brow. So you can see I'm holding the pen like in the shape that I'm making. It just lets me have more control. I recently switched to this shade Brunette. I used to use Espresso, and Brunette is a little bit lighter, and I think I like the kind of lighter color. It just looks softer in my brows. And then I'm going to take the thin brow pencil, and I'm pretty much just going to lightly line underneath my brows. And then I also like to kind of fix this arch in my tail, but I'm only doing a little bit, so you might not see a huge difference. And then again, I am doing some of these kind of flicking motions to try to make hairs. And then in the Anastasia pencil, I'm using the shade Medium Brown. So again, I used to use dark brown in all of her brow products, but I think medium brown is definitely better for me. All right, so both brows are filled in, and now I'm going to try to calm down kind of this top area. I still want my brows to look fluffy, but they don't need to be stuck to my forehead. You see that difference there? Obviously this looks better. I'm kind of like on my forehead right now with the spoolie, trying to get the top of my brows to chillax a bit. And that's my current brow routine. This is pretty simple for me, and I really like it. Now for my everyday makeup, I like to have a really solid base. I want good coverage. I want a lot of blush. I love my blush, a bit of bronzer, and then I do very, very natural on the eyes. This is just what I like for every day. I'm gonna start with the Smashbox primerizer. This is just a really lightweight hydrating primer, which is what my skin needs right now. And I'm gonna put that all over. It's kind of just like a really thin layer of moisturizer. I did my skincare a while ago, so that's why my skin's a little dry. And then I kind of use the primer right here above my brows to kind of get rid of some of that stickiness of the NYX Brow Glue. So for foundation today, I know I'm going to use the Fenty Eaze Drop liquid version, and this one does have a soft matte finish, and I like something a little bit glowy underneath it, so I'm back to using my Saie Glowy Super Gel in Starglow. I used to really, really like this, and I would use it all the time, I think like last summer. So I'm going to take like a full pump of that, and this is also going to go everywhere. So this one has a really nice kind of gel-like formula. So again, it feels hydrating, which is what I need. It gives a really nice glow underneath this Fenty foundation. Now I feel rehydrated, I'm ready to apply the skin tint, and I do have a self tan on today, so I'm using the shade 5. I shook it up and I'm gonna squirt some on the back of my hand. Ooh, see, I'm getting a little low. This is a product that I want to pan in 2024. It's kind of on my plan to pan list. And I'm gonna dip my BK Beauty 101 foundation brush in that and just start to apply it. I've said this before, but ever since I started using this foundation brush, I have not touched any other foundation brush or even a sponge for that matter. I used to use a sponge for my foundation and concealer, but now I just want to use these BK Beauty brushes. I think BK Beauty has my favorite base brushes, but for eyeshadow, Sigma is still my favorite. So that covered kind of the lower half of my face. I need a little bit more for my forehead. I do have a code with both Sigma and BK Beauty. It's just ANGELABRIGHT on both websites to save you some money if you want to check out any of their brushes or products. And I like this brush because I can kind of use like the edge of this to go right around my eyebrow. Like this really is the perfect foundation brush. I love how that looks on my skin, and that Saie Glowy Super Gel definitely gives it more of a glow. And now since I have acne, I like to cover up my spots a little bit more that are like still peeking through. So for that, I'm using the NARS Soft Matte Concealer. And I'm just taking a flat concealer brush. This is a BK Beauty A505. A lot of brands have some kind of brush like this. And I'm just gonna put that over my spots that are still peeking through. And I do kind of do a lot of this because, again, I like my skin to be pretty flawless looking, even though I know I have acne and texture, and that's totally fine. I like to cover it as best as possible. And I have found that this is the best concealer for acne. I have tried so many concealers, and I love this concealer so much that I finished 2 of them last year. I finished one in my shade Vanilla, which I use it on Fair, and then this one in Custard. So this is my second time purchasing this product, which just tells you how much I love it and need it in my life. Some people like to do this step before their foundation, but I just like to do it afterwards, but you can really do either way. I kind of let that concealer sit on my face for like a minute or two just to kind of settle down before I blend it out. To blend it out, I like to switch to a smaller concealer brush, and I kind of switch between these two. We have the BK Beauty A505, and then this one's newer. It's the BK Beauty and Nicola Rose N16. Both of these are fabulous for this step. I also like them both for under the eyes, and I just kind of use them interchangeably. But I do know that these BK Beauty Nicola Rose ones are now available individually, which is really cool because I have been using so many brushes from this brush set. So I'm just going to pat over that concealer and blend it in into my spots. And I like using something small like this so I can get right between my brows. And then I'll just kind of go around these smaller areas of my nose to make sure they're covered. And now there's kind of concealer on this brush, right? So I'll just take whatever's on here and just put this on my eyelid just to start getting rid of some of this discoloration, but I will add more product on here later. That is looking really, really good. Now I like to do a little under eye brightening slash corrector. So I'm using the e.l.f. Putty Color Correcting Eye Brightener, and I'll just take it on whatever concealer brush I just used. And I like to go right on my kind of dark circles right here. Show you a little before and after. I finished up 2 of the Sigma under eye brighteners last year, and I really, really love that one, but I felt like I went through it so fast. So that's why I'm trying out this e.l.f. one, and I feel like it does a pretty good job. So there's this eye with the brightener, that one without. It is a pretty subtle difference, but I do add concealer on top later. Now it's time for my favorite part, which is just layering a bunch of cream products. I got my cream bronzer, my cream blush. So I definitely don't wear the same cream blush every day. I like to switch it up depending on like what color I'm wearing, what kind of mood I'm in. Do I want something more burnt, more pink, more peach? Like it's just whatever I'm feeling that day. But there is always a cream blush involved. At least one. I'm gonna start with this Milani cream blush in the shade Nude Kiss. This is another product that I'm trying to use 10 times to just kind of get some progress on. And I'm taking another brush from that Nicola Rose brush collection. This is the N15. Take some of that. And we're just gonna start applying blush. And I like to start pretty high, so I'm going like right on my cheekbone right now, but it kind of does end up everywhere, somewhere towards the end. And I've really been liking this blush brush because I find that it works with creams and powders really well. And I like a brush when I can use it for multiple things. Yeah, so I'm applying blush all over, like this entire kind of little C-U shape right here. I could just sit here and apply cream blush all day. It's probably one of my favorite makeup steps now. And I kind of like to like lift my cheeks a little bit as I'm applying it. I know that's like such an old technique, like smile when you apply your blush, but it kind of works when you like blush all over your face. And the reason why I'm putting it all over, and I'm even being like a little sloppy with it, is because I do my under eye concealer after my blush, so I kind of like clean it up a little bit later on. And then I'll just bring a little blush on my nose too. So after I do like my first layer of blush, I'm going to do my cream bronzer, and for that I'm using the Rare Beauty Bronzer Stick in Power Boost. I used to just kind of draw it on and blend it in, but I've kind of been liking picking it up on that brush, and I'm using the same brush I just used for blush, and then applying it. And I like to start at the top of my forehead here because I got a big forehead. But I mean, my hair kind of covers it. But I'm starting super high up, and I kind of like to get into my hairline. And then I might add like a little bit more. Kind of bring it down to where my blush is right here on my temple. And then I'll take just a little bit more kind of right here. I think I definitely used to do more bronzer than blush, but nowadays I'm doing more blush than bronzer for sure. And then I kind of take the side of the stick. I know this is technically a bronzer and you're supposed to do this more of like a contour shade. I mean, I'm not really like trying to super contour my nose. I like to put it on the sides of my nose so then the tip is kind of like, I don't know, slightly smaller. I don't know if it makes a huge difference, but I just do this. Now I'm going to do my under eye concealer, and I'm going to take the Natasha Denona Hyglam Concealer in RN3. And I try to do not too much. I feel like we got so used to having such a heavy hand with concealer that it's kind of hard to step away from that. And this was the concealer of 2023 for me. Like, I have not used anything else since I got this. And then I'll just take a tiny bit right on the center of my lids because I'll blend that out. Then I go back to the concealer brush I was using and I'm going to blend that out. It's a serum concealer. It has more of a medium to full coverage. It looks very weightless under the eyes. I also do have a code with Natasha Denona to save some money on her website. Again, it's just ANGELABRIGHT. So when I'm blending out this concealer on my eyelid, I make sure I'm covering the entire eyelid all the way from this like inner area from my nose all the way out here. You can also use this brush to kind of like maybe clean up under your brows if you got some like brow pencil down there. This is the time to do that. Now, I like to kind of blend my blush a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the brush I've been using. I haven't picked up any extra product yet, but I'm going to pat kind of right where my concealer is meeting my cream blush. And then I'm going to take a super pale light blush. This is the Makeup by Mario Soft Pop Plumping Blush Veil in Barely Blushing. This is the lightest shade, I believe. And again, I'm going to place that right where the concealer meets the blush just to kind of merge these two together. And this formula and this shade specifically is so sheer. It has a beautiful kind of balmy texture to it. And I just feel like this looks better than this. Do you see the difference? I hope you can. I kind of think of this step as like my transition shade for my blush. You know, we put a transition shade in the crease to help blend shades together. So why don't I do that for my blush? And of course, I just want another opportunity to apply more blush. It's so fun. At this point, my face is covered in cream products and we gotta set some of this down. So I like to start by setting my under eyes first because that is where you will crease first. You can see just like how glowy and kind of balmy my skin looks right now, right? So first I'm gonna take my finger and I'm gonna tap out this under eye crease just to get rid of that like extra product that likes to sit right there. Also gonna tap out my eyelid. Use your finger for this step because the warmth will really help. And then for my powder, I'm going to take a loose translucent powder. I'm using the Hourglass Veil. And then for my brush, I'm going to use a BK Beauty 108. I picked up that much powder and I'm going to tap off all that excess. There's powder on my brush, but not a lot, but not a little bit, just like a medium amount. And I'm going to look up and set my under eye. And then also set my eyelid. Telling you now that I don't do a lot of eyeshadow for my everyday makeup look, and that's why I'm not using an eyeshadow primer. If I were to do like a more like glamorous, intense look with the lashes and wing and everything, I would use an actual eye primer at this point. I don't do it for my everyday look because I'm not doing like a full-on glam eye. Now this whole area is set. That was the before. See how glowy that is? And now it's more set down. Now, once I set my under eyes, I will start to set the rest of my face. With this same powder, I'm going to do like my T-zone, my chin, forehead. For a minute there, I was using the velour puffs to set my under eyes, like these little guys that you see all over TikTok. But I found that because I have dry skin, layering that much powder under my eyes and like really setting it and like doing kind of a light bake almost felt really drying for my skin, and I just did not like how it felt. Yes, it looks super smooth, but I don't like that for my everyday makeup. But if I were trying to do like a full glam where I needed my makeup to last all day, I probably would do that technique, but I don't do it for an everyday makeup look. Now I'm gonna set this part of my cheek, kind of the apple. I'm pretty much just not setting where I would put highlighter, just since that area already is glowy. Now I'm gonna lay down my third blush. I believe this will be the last one, I promise. For that, I'm gonna use the Natasha Denona My Mini Dream Glow Blush that just recently came out. And for my blush brush, I'm using the Nikki LaRose N17. It's this cool kind of double-sided brush, and I'm using this side since I'm using a powder. I'm just gonna pick up this blush side and apply more blush. And I've been liking this brush a lot for my blush because it covers a small area, so I'm not gonna overdo it. I'm kind of looking straight into my mirror to see where that blush is going, and I like that. I had a couple people ask me if I was gonna buy the new Berry collection from Natasha Denona with the blush and the lips and everything, and I'm not planning on buying that just because I literally just bought this mini blush, and I have the My Dream cream blush little trio, and I just don't think I need the Berry version of it. I also just don't really wear berry shades a lot. I honestly just don't need it, and I don't think I'll get a lot of use out of it, which is why I'm not buying it. Now I am going to take a little bit of the glowy side now. I'm going to kind of take those two together and just kind of pat that where I would normally highlight. And then again, I like some blush on my nose right here and my chin. So that is pretty much it for the base makeup. And again, I like my base to look pretty flawless, just very blushy looking. It's what I like. Now I like to set my face before I do a little bit on my eyes. I'm gonna use my Urban Decay All Nighter. I think it's empty. Like, I don't want to spray this anymore. It's gonna get squirty. Not finishing a product. Now let's zoom in and do the eyes. Now, looking at my channel, you would probably think that I do some crazy glam eyeshadow look every day, but I definitely don't. I like to keep my eyes really simple day to day, and I have this new combo I've been loving. So one palette I have been loving for every day is the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 3. And this has all of the neutral brown shades that I need to create an eye look and some cream liners in case I want to do that. I'm going to show you what I normally do. And then for my shimmer shades, I have been loving this Urban Decay Moondust palette that I bought during holiday. I just think the look of having like a sparkly soft wash all over your lid is so gorgeous, and I love it for every day. So I'm going to go into that Patrick Ta palette, and I'm taking this shade on a Sigma E35. And I like to start that kind of right here on my outer crease and just really press it in. And then I'll just softly bring it down onto my outer lid. And I'm doing a pressing motion with a pretty fluffy brush because I want this to be kind of blown out. I don't want it to have like any harsh lines. I want it to be very effortless looking, so that's why I'm using this pretty fluffy brush. And then I'll dip back in again with just that one shade and just kind of build that up until I'm happy with it. I do also do this a lot with my bronzer if I'm just feeling lazy that day and don't want to grab a palette. I do this with bronzer and just highlighter on my eyes all the time. Now I'm taking whatever's left on my brush right in this inner crease, but I'm staying pretty high and I'm really close to the bottom of my brow. And I bring it into my nose almost like I was doing a little nose contour. I want to soften this area right there. So I'm going to take this light shade right here. Oh, I also wanted to mention too, I've done this look so many times with my palette with Sigma. I'll show you what to use. I would use Basic for that crease work, Bare for the step I'm about to do right now, and then for my shimmer, either Champagne Problems and or Bright. I'm taking a little bit of that lighter kind of vanilla shade right here on this outer area, just to soften it, kind of blend it out. Again, I want this to be very seamless looking. Now I switched to a smaller fluffy brush. This is a Sigma E42, and I'm taking that first shade that I put in my crease and just applying that on my entire lower lash line. And this is just going to give a little bit of definition on the lower lash line. Honestly, this is all I do on the lower lash line. I don't put any more eyeshadow or liner or mascara down there. I like it to be very soft for every day. Now I'm going to go into that Moondust palette. And I use either Star Cowgirl or Space Cowboy, just depending on my mood. I think today I want to do this first one. What I've learned with these types of shadows is to apply it with kind of a fluffy flat brush. I'm going to use a Sigma E25. If you use your finger, you'll get a lot of pigment, but I just kind of want more of the sparkles of these shades. So I'm going to pick up that and I'm going to apply that on the entire inner part of my eye. Like this is going to kind of go all over the place. This is going to help brighten the lid. It's going to add some sparkle. And it's just so pretty to have a wash of this all over. I'll show you what it looks like with my finger if I just put this right on the lid part, but not necessarily in the crease. Maybe I'll build it up like that and then just kind of fluff it out. And that is all I do for eyeshadow, so I'm going to go ahead and do that on the other eye. I went ahead and did the eyeshadow on this eye, and now I did forget to highlight my inner corners. So for that, I do go into my palette with Sigma. This is the one that I use all the time, and I'm going to take the shade Bright and pop that in my inner corner. I'll even do a little bit under my brow as well. Now to finish up the eyes, I just do mascara. Some days, if I'm feeling extra glam, I'll do a half lash, but most days it's just mascara. And that's because I just love the mascara that I'm using. I like to use the Tower 28 Make Waves one, but I'm using the brown one recently. I love this brush. I love the formula. The brown shade is perfect, and I just love how it lifts and separates my lashes. I am going to start by curling my lashes, and I'm using the Shiseido lash curler. I have used other lash curlers in the past, but this is the best one I have ever used. All right, giving those a good curl. Yeah. Sorry if I block the camera, but I like to get really close into my mirror when I put on my mascara. It's so good. And you can totally do mascara on your lower lashes if you like to, but I just like to skip it because it's kind of a hassle. It'll smudge a little bit throughout the day just because it's, you know, down there. And I just kind of like how bright and lifted my eyes look with just mascara on the top. Can you see why I love this mascara? It just speaks for itself. It's so good. If you want a drugstore mascara that I really like, I do love the e.l.f. Lash and Roll. I think they came out with that one in brown too, right? But I did just buy the new e.l.f. Lash Extender one, I think it's what it's called, but I'm waiting for that one to come in the mail. I've heard good things about that one. Lashes are curled, going in on the other eye. This eye never looks as good as my left eye, but honestly that's pretty good for my right eye. I like to let my mascara dry before I clean up any like marks on my eyelids, and I'm gonna move to my lips. So again, my lips are nice and hydrated from starting with that Summer Fridays lip balm. And I just take my foundation brush and pat over my lips to get rid of some of that like natural color that I have, just because my natural lips are pretty pigmented. And then I'll take whatever lip liner I'm using. At the moment it is Makeup by Mario Smoky Pink, and I'm gonna line my lips and fill them in with this. I think it's a little darker than what I normally like. But then I'm going to take my Plumping Lip Serum in Nude Glow. Just pop that right on top. But I'm just going to take a little Q-tip and get rid of any mascara marks that I got on my eyelid. Always check your lash line too for any mascara marks. I feel like that's a really common place people miss. And this little Q-tip I'm using is by Last Object. It's actually a reusable Q-tip, and I literally use just this singular Q-tip for my eyes. I don't put this in my ears or anything. That'd be gross. Okay, that is it. That is my actual everyday makeup tutorial. I was just watching the clock as I filmed this. I started at 2:30. It's currently 3:50, so that took a little bit over an hour. But I was talking, I had a little pee break in between, but that took about an hour to do, which I say is pretty normal for me. But again, doing my makeup and getting ready for the day is like one of my favorite parts of the day, so I try to enjoy that time and I'm not really like rushing through the process. As always, I'm gonna link every single product and brush I used today down below, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching and don't forget to like and subscribe.